I've made quite a few anime parody animations, and I think it's safe to say I've worked out a bit of a process for creating these videos as a team of one single person. Without further ado, let's jump right into it with the first step. Watching the show. This seems pretty obvious, but in order to parody a show, you have to watch it. I usually watch 3 to 5 episodes and write down the main happenings in each episode. If I have an idea for a scene, I'll pause and dump whatever comes to mind into my notes as I go. Once that's completed, it's time for step 2. The script. This is arguably the most important part of the process. Without good scenes and jokes, it's not going to be very entertaining for anybody involved. I use 3 different methods for crafting scenes. The mechanical way. This is the most straightforward but the least inspiring method. I take the content I'd like to use in my script and craft a joke based on the tension to release formula. Essentially, I build up a scene and then subvert expectations in some way. This is very formulaic, which makes it less fun, but it's useful for transitional scenes that need to carry some semblance of a cohesive storyline, even if it's only for a plot in the loosest of definitions. Inspiration on site. This involves crafting ideas as they come to me while actively watching episodes. It can also involve ideas inspired by unrelated content, like TikTok trends, other shows, or even daily interactions. These inspirations can all come together and create something completely new. The last way is something I call chaos capturing. This is the most fun method, but also the least predictable. It's when an idea spontaneously launches into my brain, often when I'm about to fall asleep. That's why it's important to always keep the Notes app ready. And these scenes are usually my favorite. Not every scene is going to be a winner, but I like to experiment and try new things. When a scene works well, I feel proud of what I've accomplished and can move on to the next part, which is voiceover. This has been a fairly new addition to my skill set. I had to learn a lot about microphones, audio, sound treatment. Let's just say audio engineers aren't called that for no reason. If you can do different voices and impressions, this is a great time to showcase that skill. I focus more on capturing a character's cadence, more like how they would say something rather than trying to perfectly mimic their voice. It's a more accessible approach as vocal ranges typically only have a little bit of wiggle room. Editing the audio. This part is pretty straightforward. Apply noise reduction, go through your takes, and delete the ones that don't make the cut. Arrange the audio roughly how you want it. You can tweak the pauses later, but you should be able to close your eyes, listen, and imagine the scene playing out. Normalize and compress the audio, then export it for the next step. Animation. I create each scene in its own file, so I usually end up with 5 to 10 files per video. Then I import the audio and get to work. The first thing to tackle is the storyboarding. This takes the most brain power. Sketch out the entire scene and add notes about movements and camera actions. It's important to get this part right because it forms the foundation for the scene. If the storyboard isn't good, adding lines and colors won't save it. And since this part takes the most amount of concentration, it's good to take breaks, or else, at least in my case, I usually end up getting pretty lazy with it. After the storyboard is done, I move on to the line work, then the coloring, and then the lip syncing. Finally, I add any camera work or extra effects needed. Then I do one final check and review the scene for mistakes. Once everything looks good, I export the file and repeat for the other scenes. Post-processing. Time to put it all together. I upload all the files into my editing software and work on the final touches. This includes extra camera movements, adjusting the audio levels, sound effects, and inserting music. Since copyright rules for music are really strict, I've had to learn how to make my own tracks. I really only recently got comfortable enough producing music that I can consistently make tracks that I'm sure sound at least decent, though it takes me quite a while to do and I'm definitely still a beginner. But you don't get better at something by not doing it, so after one last check for mistakes, and inevitably finding at least one, it's time to render and upload. The final step, hit the create button, import the file, correct the title. Forgot to make a thumbnail. Pull a thumbnail out your ass, write a little description, continue through all the checks. Are you a robot? Is this video about robots? Would a robot like this video? Then hit upload. That's it, you're done. Time to rinse and repeat. Good news for those of you who like my outro. It's now out on pretty much every music platform, I think at least. It's my first time releasing a song. And this video was requested by the guy you know. Thank you so much for your suggestion. I hope it was informative. Let me know in the comments if there are any videos like this you'd like to see, and I'll look to incorporate this style of video into my workflow. Thank you for watching, bye!